full-length features? Nothing.
That you can get them made. They're a lot easier to get made than a feature.
How so?
Money. So we can create our own thing with a short film. Feature film is a whole different beast.
Yeah, you could really, the two films that you saw, they were done very small. Particularly No Goodbyes was done on a minimal, practically nothing budget, and I could get it made. I could do it. It was a passion project. You can get a bunch of people together and put on a show, so to speak. And that's a lot harder to do when you're talking about a full-length feature. That's harder for people to commit to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and find the money for it. You're exactly right.
Completely agree. Ours was a little ambitious. We were shot over 2 weekends, but yeah, went a lot further than we actually expected to go. But I just kept writing, and they kept coming, so we kept making it big.
Well, that's great. That's awesome. So, what do you think the biggest challenge?
I will also add that it is also a really great place to play out an idea. Taking a small space of something that you vision in your head, and you can kind of see if you can make it work. If you can make it, in this small space, and then eventually, I want to make No Goodbyes into a feature. Obviously, that's a true story. I took 2 true stories and mushed it together. And I have a feature that Simon Okura, who's a British playwright, and I already finished. But it's I wanted to see if I could make it work even in a small space. And that really is really important to be able to start seeing it fulfill itself. I think it works, but I think it would be more amazing as a big film.
You can use it almost as that sample, temporary, give it a whirl, see if it makes sense.
Exactly. You can take it to money and say,
Gotcha.
hey, look at what I did for $3,000.
For $1.50 and a cheeseburger.
Exactly. They might have gotten a cheeseburger. I'm not quite sure.
There you go. Well,
There was no cheese, right?
More buns.
well, in Gator there were buns. Oh, anyway. And the pub film. But anyway. What do you think the biggest challenge is about short films?
Getting it done. Just getting your vision on screen somewhere and actually getting it done. That's the hardest thing. No matter what you try to do, it's never going to be big enough. You're never going to have enough money. You're not going to have enough time. But you just got to get it done. Just whatever your idea is, just push it through. So, yeah.
It's not a feature, but it's still a mountain. It's still a huge undertaking to do a short.
Oh, also, traditionally distribution. It's wonderful that we have a venue like this, that we can all kind of come together and then share the duration of 90 minutes. But a feature is its own standalone. But a short, we depend on each other and YouTube in a certain amount of areas to distribute the film, unlike where Netflix is going to look for a feature film. So that's kind of also another.
Do you see more networks and such picking up short films lately, or is that still kind of the same? It's a struggle.
No, actually, there is a little bit of more interest in shorts. So there has been in the last 10 years, I noticed. Every one of my shorts were picked up, fortunately.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate with that, but I do think there's a little bit more of an interest than there was. I think people really enjoy short films, and it really is a great place to have a wonderful little expression. Whether it can be 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and it's amazing on what you can do. And it's also an amazing challenge.
I gotcha. So, all right, well, I have some specific questions for specific people that I wanted to kind of follow up. Now, JC, you were first on my list. No, anyway, I wanted to just ask, how did you come up with your story? Where did the concept come from for your film?
Well, when the pandemic struck, obviously my last film was Steam Room Stories, the movie, which was just before the pandemic. And during the pandemic, I wrote a novel, and it took me about a year to write a novel, and which was a great experience because you couldn't make a film. So I wrote a novel called Revenge of the Brobot, and it was a lot of fun. And we locked in for a second year, and my husband says, "Well, write another novel," and I'm like, "Fuck that! There's no way I'm going to write another book." But I enjoyed writing, and I needed something to do, so I started writing short stories. So I wrote a dozen or so short stories, and then just as the pandemic broke, actor from one of my movies said to me, well, I want to start doing voiceover and start earning voiceover work. So I said, well, I've got all these stories, let's do a podcast. So I recorded all the stories and created a podcast called Steamy Stories to tie into my brand, Steam Room Stories. And every month for the last 3-4 years, I've written a story and I've been putting out this podcast. And I missed making movies, but making a feature is a daunting task and an expensive task, as we've all said. So I took one of my steamy stories and turned it into a film, which I hope to do one a month and make a short film a month based on the podcast. So that's the origin. That's why you saw, Steamy Stories Presents.
That's awesome. I love the fact that you're taking creativity from multiple different avenues and consolidating it into multiple different ways to present it. That's wonderful. All right, well, Kurt, I have a question for you. I've heard that there's a very interesting backstory that goes along with the creation of your film, and I would love if you would share a little bit of that really long time frame that you used to create this film, and all that kind of thing. So if you would enlighten us a little bit.
Yeah, so just me and all of you, the first film, it was what we consider a do something project. So Naomi's a friend of mine. I talked to her maybe just after Christmas, saying, Merry Christmas to you, blah, blah, blah. And then Wesley, who's co-stars with her, he and I got on the phone New Year's Day and said, let's go do something. We waiting for somebody to make something happen. I want to direct, you want to act. Naomi's a friend of mine. She said she's down, let's go. So that was his parents' house at the time that we shot it. We basically workshopped for about 45 minutes. I went to town, I wrote the script that day, called Naomi and said, hey, I wrote the script, are you interested? Sent it over to her, she said, sure. When? This was literally January 1st, I said, give me like 2 or 3 weeks, and I don't have any money, but I'll make it happen. And she's like, all right, I'm down. And so then I called friends, and we pieced it together. I think we went into production in, God, it's been a while. I know it was before February, so maybe in like 3 weeks afterwards, something like that, we went into production. Shot it, and then of course everybody's like, what are we gonna do with it? So I was like, oh, well, we're gonna put it in a film festival. What film festival? Well, the next thing coming up is Cannes. So we're gonna get it into Cannes. And so that became our target date, was to get the film done, edited, and out the door to get it to Cannes.
No pressure.
No pressure, because I like small, easy things to do. So,
for those of you that don't know, the Cannes Film Festival cutoff was probably 6 weeks-ish?
Yeah,
8
I think
weeks
it was
after.
like the end of February, early March, somewhere in there. So it's like, and Cannes, for those that don't know, it's in France. It's pretty much like the film festival, like the world's version of Sundance. So take Sundance and put it on steroids, and you got Cannes. And it's not even ambitious to try to get in, because the entire world's trying to get in there. And we just said, sure, let's go. Let's knock something out. And the first week, what I wrote, there was holes. And so I said, well, can you guys come back next week? I got to write some stuff to fill the holes, to film some other scenes. And lo and behold, they came back. And fast forward, boom, here we are. We finished the film, and I started editing it. My friend Tasha, she literally went to town editing with the dailies, and the two of us cut it together and pieced together this film. And there's actually a whole end scene that we just couldn't do, but made it, pieced together that with the way we wanted it, and very happy with the way it turned out. So
You made some magic there.
I made
That's
some
awesome.
magic. I made some magic happen. So
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's not your typical timeline.
No, it's not.
That's kind
But it
of
was
fun.
ambitious and it was fun, and I'm very happy with
That's
everybody
great.
that said sure. And to any of the filmmakers in the room, do it.
Yeah.
You don't know how many people want to see you do something. There's
Mhm.
so many fans in your life that are sitting there just waiting for you to do something. They don't care what it is. If you say, look, I'm gonna do something, the line is out the door of people that are willing to help you. They just want you to do something. So I'm pretty sure my other filmmakers can say the same. There's a bunch of people out there that want to help. There's a bunch of people that want money. And we all want money. I'm not to be off. But there's a lot of people out there that want to see you in.
Yeah, well, two of the people here who have a lot of fans, especially out here in the Palm Springs area, would be Larry and Terry down there on the end. I know they have some fans, especially with Gaydar. There's three or four. Now,
That fan is out there somewhere right now.
you forgot to pay them, Terry. No, but what I did want to ask Larry, how do you develop your characters? Where does that come from for you as a director? You know, as a writer. How do you develop your characters? Do you start with somebody you know and build something off of that? Do you just create from scratch? Where does all that crazy on the screen come from for you?
Well, very much Terry and I wrote this film together. So when I was working at Nickelodeon, and he was an actor that we'd hired, and we became good friends, and I said, we should make a film together.
Pull it up at your mouth just a little further.
And I said, we should make a film together, and so we started brainstorming ideas. And when we started writing with him as the lead character, this just seemed like who he was best.
So it was his crazy that all of a sudden ended up on the page of the character.
Definitely influenced, and we had similar sensibilities for comedy, I think, and I'm always drawn to underdog characters.
This was 23 years ago,
Don't tell anyone.
and I look unchanged.
You don't look a day older.
And it still works, it still holds up too, which is really fun. That's the great thing about humor.
Yeah. We actually shot this film on 35, but unfortunately the DVD that we provided was probably not designed for this type of projection, so
sorry.
it sort of digitally fell apart, so I do apologize for that.
Oh, it looked great. It was like RuPaul season 1.
Right.
But a piece of wonderful trivia, we shot with a real Panavision camera that later was found out to be the actual camera that shot Star Wars. And it sold at auction for the highest price ever paid for a camera.
Oh my God.
I didn't know it at the time.
No pressure. No.
It was
You know.
thank God we, we're kind to it.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So I guess let's just kind of go down the row. And what I'd like to know is from your film, your short film, what do you want the audience to take away? What was the mission?
Well, our biggest mission, or the statement of the film was there's nothing wrong with fantasy, and we don't have to know everything about everyone. And people have a right to privacy, and sometimes it's nice to not know. It's like adds a little spice,
And it's fun.
and it's fun, right?
I mean, the main thing is I think we really wanted to have something fun for the audience in a gay film festival, and we were so lucky with Gaydar because it was in, I don't know, an incredible amount. I stopped counting at 120 film festivals all over the world, and
This is 121.
yeah, well, I think it's, yeah. So it's fun that Gaydar got a toy. It gave him a directing career at Nickelodeon. It's been such a gift, and we're just really thankful for everything. And I got to work with Charles Esmeralda, who was my acting teacher, and it was a wonderful gift to us that it was received the way it was. So
It is true. I think that you guys talked about you make a short film so it can be your calling card, and that actually worked out that way. Fortunately for me, because I was working on a Nickelodeon live action show, and one of the showrunners saw the film by chance.
he was in
And
casting.
I was working in casting, and they eventually, long story short, I got an opportunity to direct some episodes because of it. So I was very fortunate. Yeah.
All right, Billy.
What was the question?
It was, what do you want the audience to take away from your short film? We would start with Lena's dance.
Yeah, I mean, Lena's dance was, of course, that was a true story from a young man, from Michael, who we co-wrote it together. And I just, it's such a sweet story about following your dreams and listening to your heart, right? It's really, really, really simple. And I just wanted this little fantasy movie. I really felt like it was a fairy tale. That's where I took it. When he came to me with the story, which was one page, I looked at it and I went, well, now we have to turn it into a script. And, and I said, I see this as a fairy tale. And so I really took that upon it as a fairy tale, no, let's follow our heart. Let's follow, real basic stuff. And luckily Dee Wallace said yes, she read the script and thought it was amazing. And it was just so beautiful. And then finding that amazing dancer, oh my God, was she brilliant?
Somebody told me she looks kind of like Taylor Swift. I don't know, maybe before she
Yeah, I
got,
could totally
before
see that.
anybody knew who she was.
She was a very major ballerina from New York who just moved here when we just before we shot it, and who wanted to become an actress. This is one of the first things that she did. But she's an amazing actress too. I want to use her. But and as far as No Goodbyes, now that's major. So there's a lot of information that we don't have in the gay community, anything about the whole, what it was like to be in the Holocaust. We don't have that information. There are a few books, very few, but we don't know about it. And I really want to make this as a feature to really show you, and unapologetically, how severe it was for the gay community. And like nobody knew that they left Auschwitz or wherever they were put in a bus and then taken to jail until the 70s. We were fortunate to have an actual Holocaust survivor who knew he was not gay, but knew a lot of gay people in Auschwitz. And he said, this is so important to tell. The way they treated the gay community was appalling. And in the major script, I mean, the scenes that you see, it will turn people's stomachs. But there are some times when it's very, very important that we see reality and that we don't hide around it, because we need to understand what true evil looks like. And these people, and we're living in amongst a time where it's rumbling pretty big. But, and so that's another reason why I thought it was so crucial as well. So I hope that really makes quite a statement for people who watch it, to understand some of the atrocities that occurred. We need to, again, so that it never happens again.
Yeah, thank you for telling that story.
Thank you.
So, JC, on a lighter note.
Well, all my writings, my 4 movies and all those short stories are all about just kind of joy. I feel like there's just not enough joy and happy, healthy relationships between men and just love without any kind of bias or prejudice or problems. So I feel like that is my contribution as a storyteller to the community, is just stories about just happy relationships and people.
Heaven forbid we all be happy once in a while.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. So all my stories is that, and my takeaway is just that. All these steamy stories are sexy relationship stories, some based on truth, stories that I had, or just fantasies that I wish happened the way that they happened on the screen. So that's really what the takeaway is. And the movie was made as a branding opportunity for the podcast. So we talked about why people make short films, and for me that was it. It's ostensibly a commercial for the podcast, and an opportunity for me as a filmmaker to make a film. But that's kind of what I hope. The takeaway is that somebody looks at the film and goes, that's a really sweet story. I enjoyed that story, and I want to see more of these stories, and come to me and see what else I've done.
Well, it was definitely a little bit steamy, and it made me smile. So, it did its job. So, and last but not least, Kurt.
Well, mine is that there's always somebody for everybody. A lot of my work is love-based. I like to get lost in the twisted versions of love that don't necessarily show up the way you want it to, that don't necessarily look clean and pretty, that you have things that are common that people say is not good, but I love you, you love me, and it works for us. And so for this, ultimately, it is a love story. They're twisted, they're deranged. She has multiple personalities. He's a psychopath, but one's masochistic, one's sadistic. Well, they find each other.
Somehow it works. Match made in somewhere.
It's a match made in their version of heaven, and that's what they created. They create their version of heaven. They kill together, they torture together, they maim together, and ultimately she looked for someone that's never gonna leave her, and his, not to say death, but when he's down, he's crawling back to her. And the thing when he has no love for anybody, she's the one thing that brings out that love. So, there's a twisted version of that I like. That's that idea that love doesn't necessarily fit inside this very,
The candy-coated box or
Yeah, it's
whatever.
not candy-coated, it's ugly, it's very ugly. And since then, like, there's a feature version of this that I've written, and all the, kind of like, as I say, sorry, there's an anthology series that I'm starting to pitch right now, which is kind of following the same thing. It's all about love, but twisted love.
I love that.
And,
We're all a little twisted. We all like to love.
we all like
so.
a little twisted love, and yeah, those things get kind of what we deem as saying they're ugly, but they're beautiful in their own ugliness.
I love that. That's a great way to put it. Beautiful in your own ugliness. So I do that when I look in the mirror.
Still beautiful, baby. Still beautiful.
Well, Terry, I have a question specifically for you as the actor on the stage. So, do you prefer doing short films or full-length features when you act? Would you prefer to do longer stuff or shorter stuff?
I prefer getting paid.
Good answer. I do too. The paycheck.
No, of course, features would be fantastic. Right now, I'm personally in a huge theater phase, so I'm enjoying doing theater with
The
an
bent.
audience.
Don't forget the bent.
Don't forget the bent. But of course, I love film and television stuff, but I'm really in my theater phase right now, which is just feeding my soul.
That's awesome.
Loving it.
That's great.
Come to thebent.org.
Exactly. So, this one I'm going to throw out, anybody can answer, is what is your favorite moment during the filming process? And you can't say when you finish or when you sell it.
I would say editing, when you see that your plans actually worked, came together. You're like, okay, it works the way I intended it to.
I would say for me, one of the things that always blows me away is when I've written something that I hoped was a really important moment, and it's coming out of an actor who is taking it someplace that I didn't expect and are actually blowing me away. I literally am in shock. I have this real moment when I'm standing there behind the camera and going, oh my God. And going, I wonder who wrote that. Because they're taking it and make it, and that's what you want, right? You've written it, but then you want someone to come to it and take it to the next level. They want to show me more, and that's so exciting. And then the next stage, I would totally agree with him, is that once you're in the editing booth, and I edit all my own stuff, I'm sitting there and like going, oh my God, this is actually working, And that's exciting.
I love the first day of shooting when you have the whole crew, the actors, and it's just like, this is happening. We work so hard and it's actually happening. I think that's the magic day.
I don't think a lot of people realize how much goes into pre-real production. All of the writing and the editing of scripting, the table reads, everything else before you actually ever set foot in a costume or set foot on a set or a stage.
Raising that money.
Boy.
I would say my favorite time of when I make a movie is when I show it to the cast. Because it's, especially, and it was, Steam Room Stories, the movie reminded me, because when these guys, I had these 10 strapping, frat bro-ish guys, and then they became friends. It was uncontrollable to have them on set because it was just this, alpha party. And when I had a screening for them, they showed up at the screening and half mousy and half nauseous. And they all walked in and I was did someone die? They were all so terrified because they weren't really, it was a lot of their first films, and they all came in so meek and quiet and nervous.
That's how I am too.
And it was just, I feel good about the films that I make, and I'm proud of them. And I get so excited to show them the movie because you could just kind of, as the reel is just clicking and the minutes are going in, the volume gets higher, and you start to hear them kind of giggle at themselves and then start laughing, and then by hopefully, usually 15 minutes into it, then you get that eruption, and they become so excited for seeing themselves on the screen, which is a very magical time for somebody. I mean, for me as a filmmaker, and probably all of us, when you see your work on a screen and you see an audience enjoy it, there is no better high than that. And I think for the actor who's living that Hollywood moment for themselves, who've dreamt for this their entire lives up into that moment, to see themselves on a screen, and for me to be able to give that to them, to me is one of the true joys of being a filmmaker, is to be able to gift that to an actor and have them realize that dream on screen.
Oh, that's a great moment. I as an actor, I was always terrified. You know, and then you watch it and I'm like hypercritical, and then I'm like, it's all right. Kurt?
I would also agree, it's the moment of getting on set, but I think for me it's when you do the filmmaker magic and that thing that no one else is going to see that actually works out. So, again, there's another production. I created a room out of a bathroom and upstairs. The room itself doesn't exist, but people see this room because they want to. Because I say it's a room and they see it. And when you can make that movie magic, when you actually can do the wizardry, you know, the smoke and mirrors that a lot of us grew up with, that's when it's amazing to me. I come from post, so the editing process is fun. I like to see it work, but really it's seeing the magic that you think is working on set actually become when it gels. That to me is like amazing.
I love the fact that all of you said something about when it's in the process. That shows your passion. That shows the passion that all of you have for creating. You know, it wasn't the when we're done. It wasn't the when we say that's a wrap. It wasn't the when I can sit back and relax. It's all about the process. It sounds like it's all about being creative and just that creative vomit that you're throwing everywhere at that point.
Oh, definitely. I don't want to stop. If you could put a machine, I'm pretty sure, I can't speak for all of you, but I'm pretty sure if you said, hey, all of you are going to go to work today, and as soon as you finish, tomorrow we're going to put you on another set and keep going, and when that was done, we're going to put you on another set, I don't think anyone's going to say no. You get tired physically, but mentally, no. It's like, it's a continuous orgasm that just doesn't stop coming.
Orgasms. I
Sure,
like that.
orgasm.
Creative
That's
gasm.
but those are the best ones.
I love it.
I was gonna say one big payoff to making Gator Art. It was the strangest thing that Terry and I were. I don't remember what city we were in, but after our screening, someone approached us on the street and said, "I would love to work in that office." And I thought, wow, we really created something that out of nothing, out of a vacant, office building, and made a world where people would go, "Oh, I'd like to work here. That looks like a fun place to work."
Wow.
So that was
That's
out of the blue and random.
That's kind of fascinating. Yeah, that's so random. That's what they took away, was that the office sounded great, not that the guy was hot or, that the characters were funny, but they liked the office space and they wanted to work there
The
too.
vibe, the characters
vibe,
were great.
yeah.
I just want to say something really quick. This is the first time I've seen Gator since we lost Jennifer Eccles, who played Frankelina, and I just want to take a moment to say how wonderful she was. She was a wonderful friend, and I love her, and she did so much great work. So I just wanted to say a moment about Jennifer.
Yeah.
We gotta give away that gun.
So, is there a genre that you all think work best as short films? Like, do you think horror short films or comedic short films, or is there a certain, bent that you'd like to take in the future, maybe, that you've always said, I've always wanted to make a short film about what would that be?
I definitely want to do horror, because I love horrors, and horrors.
And you're a little bit twisted. And you're a little bit scary and a little bit twisted.
I love horror, and so I really want to experiment more with that. The only kind of horror that I've created is really silly stuff. Baby Jane and Hush Up Sweet Charlotte were both on the ridiculous side.
That brilliance.
Very brilliant, yes.
Thank you.
If you haven't checked those out, please do.
Yeah, you can watch it anywhere. Anyway, but I've never done actual horror. I mean, in my new series, The Lair, is something I've never done before,
Mhm.
which they didn't mention that Charlie is one of the stars. So
I'm a werewolf.
and
I'm
Debbie-
kind of in
Debbie
character
Gibson here.
tonight.
And my dear friend Terry Ray as well, also in it. And but this is the first time I've ever done anything like this: vampires and magic and all that kind of stuff. And that was such a challenge to do. But anyway.
Who else? What's something that you've always wanted to do that you haven't done
I
yet?
want to do something super sexy because that's the only love I get. So
I feel like whatever your passion is as a filmmaker, you can make it as a short, whatever genre you're drawn to. Terry and I often do comedies, so, to me, if that's what you love, that's what you should do.
I like that.
I like sci-fi and horror, and but I think I'm kind of open like everybody else. I'd like to do pretty much whatever is going to lead to a bigger, better opportunity.
I like that.
Just see
Yeah, that's good.
because I get moved by a lot of things. So yeah, if it's a small little darling film that's cute, and possibly for kids, that's fine.
There you
You know,
go.
make kids psycho.
Now, I think Billy mentioned this earlier a little bit about how, whether it was a 3-minute, a 5-minute, a 10-minute film, in one of his comments, is there a perfect length for a short film? Or is there a certain kind of time frame that you think would be your best, or is it project specific?
Yeah, it really is project specific. I do know that film festivals want it as short as possible.
Yes.
They would love a 4-minute short, and they will much more easily bring in a 4-minute short than they will. All my shorts have always been 15 or 20 minutes, and I've been turned down with the 20-minute films just because they said this is brilliant, but we can't fit it in with all the amounts that we want to use. And mind you, I was fine with that because I was happy with what I did. But it's something to think about. If you're really trying to you're going, I need to get this into film festivals, think about how you can hit people on the head in 4 minutes. And it's amazing. Exactly. Now let's film it. But anybody who's getting into this, that would be the smartest thing to do if you want to get it seen. And really, somebody will pick it up because they can put it on top of something and it'll just fit right in.
I definitely think attention spans, become shorter and shorter. When Gaydar was touring, 20 minutes was pretty standard for short films. Now I feel like it's long. So,
Interesting.
And I agree with all that, but I also think the story will tell you what the length should be. And, also, and this is an opinion of mine, as a filmmaker, I always find that I cut my film first, and then I show it to an editor, or I show it to my husband, who will say, it should be shorter. And then I argue with him that it should be shorter because it's the right length, and it's the length that I want it to be, and it's the perfect length. And then he says, oh really? And then we'll sit down at the computer, and he'll say, well, then take this out, take this out, take this out. And then I cut out about 5 minutes of it, and he says, well, what do you think? And I go, all right, so it's better, but it should be longer.
Partners are always right. Remember that, Ronnie.
When I edit a film, going into that thing, I do the basic edit. You're just compiling it together, and then I do kind of like a little shininess, and then I have to put it aside, and then I come back with a completely different side of my brain, and I go, I don't give a shit. I'm going to slice it, and that's only because I want it to be the best it can possibly be. That's the only reason why we want to slice it. And I don't care if I thought that was cute, or this is better, or that dialogue was better. Cut the poop out of it until it really hits all those notes that you want to hit. And then if later you go, oh, I can start like adding a little bit of warmth back, or a little this, then go back. But that's how my process is. I don't know other people's processes completely, but that's what I do. But I truly think of it completely different, because I've got to put away the fact that I wrote it and say, just because I love that long soliloquy, before they kill themselves, doesn't mean it's important.
You wrote Romeo and Juliet.
Exactly. And I killed myself after that one.
I think your audience will never say, "Oh, I wish your film was longer." It's gonna say it could have been over 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I think,
Honor that.
I do think an amazing challenge would be, I've never done anything so short as 3 or 4 minutes. I think I would really like to challenge myself and do something like that.
Yeah, I had another friend of mine who was a director. He said he feels like doing short films is harder than full length because of the cutting to really tell a full story in 5 minutes, let's say, really having to